The Chicago Loop is one of the most fun and beautiful places to visit in the Midwest. Most of the people walking around there are tourists and are getting the best possible depiction of the city. Safe parks, clean streets, well-behaved homeless people. The Loop, however, is about 1.6 square miles, whereas the city of Chicago is 228 square miles, making the Loop represent about 0.75% of the city proper. And some bad things go on in other parts of the city proper. I always get a kick out of how the conservative media laments how dangerous Chicago has become. When first of all, conservative journalists tend to hate Chicago anyway, and have no intention of ever living here or even visiting here. And second of all, Chicago has always been a dangerous city. Remember the Great Chicago Fire of 1871? Or the Eastland disaster of 1915? Or the St. Valentine's Day Massacre of 1929? And Chicago is home to one of the most notorious serial killers of all time, H.H. Holmes. Holmes hasn't been getting as much attention as Milwaukee's Jeffrey Dahmer, maybe because Holmes was caught in the 1890s, and Dahmer was caught in the 1990s. And the fact that Dahmer ate his victims makes his story a little bit more interesting. But Dahmer only had 17 victims, whereas Holmes confessed to murdering 27 people, and some estimate up to 200 people. So if you judge a serial killer by the numbers, H.H. Holmes has Jeffrey Dahmer beat hands down. Holmes moved to Chicago in 1886 and started working at a drugstore in the Englewood community area. Holmes worked very hard and eventually bought the drugstore, and bought an empty lot across the street, where construction began on a multi-use building that would eventually be 3 stories high. The building would be nicknamed the Murder Castle because of rumors that there were secret gas chambers, crematoriums, and torture chambers. But Chicago has a tendency to exaggerate, like how Catherine O'Leary single-handedly started the Great Chicago Fire and the Steve Bartman incident in 2003. The building was gutted by fire by an unknown arsonist after Holmes' arrest, and was rebuilt and used as a post office until 1938. A newer post office stands at the spot today in Englewood. A post office isn't the most exciting place to be, but the neighborhood it's in is 1,000,000 times scarier and more dangerous than when H.H. Holmes was murdering people.